This is the 2025 Rivian R1S. It's an all-electric 7-seater SUV with big power and big batteries. In this video, we're going to check out all the features, take it for a drive, and then put it to the test right here at our Peninsula Proving Grounds. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. For 2025, the Rivian R1S has received so many upgrades, they're actually referring to this as a second-generation model, even though, yeah, it basically looks the same as the 2024. What they've done is upgrade to an all-new electrical architecture that simplifies the internal layout. Tri- and quad-motor production has now been moved in-house. The wheel design is new. Suspension has been updated with retuned dampers and springs, along with a new roll mitigation system. The infotainment screen has fresh graphics and features, plus all the headlights are now adaptive. So yeah, that's a pretty nice bump in features overall. The model they sent us for testing is an Adventure dual motor with the performance upgrade. That means this SUV pumps out a combined 665 horsepower and 829 pound-feet of torque. It also has the max battery for an EPA-rated range of up to 410 miles from a 141.5 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion pack. Charging peaks out at 220 kilowatts. Rivian also says you can charge from 10 to 80% in about 40 minutes with a proper DC fast charger. Of course, most people will probably just plug this in overnight with a level 2 charger at their house, and that works fine. This still comes standard with a CCS charging port, even though most companies are going towards NACS, which is the smaller plug that is included on Teslas. That said, you can get an adapter so you can use NACS with this plug. The R1S Adventure starts at $75,900. The model we have here has a bunch of options, including forest green paint, dark ash wood on the inside, and of course the performance and max upgrades, for a total price of $100,950 as you see it here, including destination. Up front, you do get a front trunk, or a frunk. It's actually a really big space, larger than in some other electrics. Down here, we also get a charging cable for at-home charging, as well as a fix-a-flat kit and a medical bag. In the back, you get a powered clamshell gate like the old Land Cruiser 200 series, which is great. Under the floor is an emergency spare. Fold all rows flat for an epic amount of space. You can sleep back here, no problem. Even at 6 foot 1 inch, I can stretch out just fine. Towing capacity maxes out at 7,700 pounds or 3,500 kilograms. Payload is massive. This trim can handle up to 1,819 pounds or 825 kilograms. That's all the people and gear you can carry at once. The third row seating isn't bad even for an adult. I am legs and torso proportionate and I fit just fine. If you have a longer torso, you might hit your head. The second row is pretty comfy. Here I have access to my own touchscreen for music and climate control. There are also 2 USB-C sockets for power. The armrest folds down with a couple cup holders. And behind the seat, you even get a hanger and another USB-C outlet. Immediately noticeable on the Rivian is the attention to detail. From the protective floor mat to these little hooks and straps, everything is nicely executed. There's even a torch in the driver's side door. How cool is that? The Rivian R1S is the first vehicle in the US to get adaptive drive beam technology. What that means is that it'll actually sculpt light around oncoming vehicles. It does this by deactivating very specific LEDs, so you're not blinding oncoming drivers or the car in front of you. Though this tech has been available in Europe for a very long time, we haven't been able to do it in the US because of very old laws. Well, slowly these things are changing, and finally Rivian has a version that is approved for use in the US. With any Rivian, you get 3 ways to access the vehicle. You get your traditional key fob, which I don't have, or you get the key card. This is mostly a valet card, so that Essentially, you can get in the car, you can start it, but it's not convenient because I have to tap it here every time I want to drive. If I want to get into the back, I have to tap the door locks and unlock the vehicle first. Really, the most convenient way to use a Rivian is to add the app to your mobile device. What this will do is give you a digital proximity key, so you can just walk up to the vehicle and use it. You never need to take your phone out of your pocket. You never need to do anything. You just sit in the vehicle and drive. Now, this interior, I think it is one of the best looking interiors you can buy today. It is gorgeous. The leather, the natural wood, it just really comes together as a very luxurious and rugged, actually oddly enough, interior. I feel like this will weather the storm, you know? This will be not only look good several years from now, it'll also wear really nicely. Now, like with a lot of modern electrics, Rivian is all in on the big screen. Everything is accessed here on the screen to a fault. I'm just going to go through a few things here. Obviously, a complete video about everything they offer on this display would take an hour. So we're just going to kind of graze over some things here. Obviously, we have maps integrated. We also have music, and now I can actually integrate Apple Music because this does not support Apple CarPlay, which I'm super annoyed by. Yet they went out of their way to provide access to Apple Music. I can actually log in and have access to all of my playlists, and it works pretty well. So why can't you just give me CarPlay and just go all the way? I'm sure they have their reasons. But software goes beyond CarPlay. Of course, you also have support for Spotify, Audible, and of course, you can also connect your mobile device through Bluetooth if you just want the audio to come over. The next screen is my favorite. This is the all-wheel drive layout of the vehicle. And it gives me all the data on the right, including motor temperature, front and back. That's good. If you're off-roading, you want to make sure that you're not going to overheat anything, or if you're towing or for whatever reason. And then on the left, I have all my drive modes, as well as configurations for stability and for the air suspension. I can adjust my height as well as the feel. Really nice there. And then of course, as I change to different drive modes on the right, the displays change a little bit as well. So I can get, like, if I'm in all-terrain mode, I get tilt and roll information on the right. Regarding drive modes, you need to consider which motor setup you have to know which drive modes are available. With this dual performance setup, you get some pretty useful ones. You get all-purpose, sport, snow, all-terrain, and soft sand. If you go down a trim to just the entry-level dual motor, you lose sport and soft sand. Next screen over, we got the camera. Obviously that engages if we go into reverse. Gorgeous display. I can switch between front and rear views with guidelines, and it's fantastic. It's great. Now, if I want to customize this, I can pop up here and there are additional information pieces I can work with, including the settings, which lets me like adjust all my displays, set up driver keys, all that kind of stuff. The one thing that I think where they go too far with menu integration is the fact that all of the aircon is in a display. And I'm talking about even adjusting a vent. You want to tilt a vent a little bit more to the left, you got to click this and then you got to position that. I think that's too far. I think just having a little movable knob, it's automation to the point of insanity. Still, the menu is gorgeous. I can also look at the middle section, enable, disable that, as well as go all the way to the back for the third row, because there are, of course, vents in the back there as well. Speaking of vents in the back, yeah, so there's a pet mode here where you can actually turn it on and it'll keep the vehicle either warmed or cooled depending on what you need. That brings me to the other thing. So these seats are actually very comfortable. They're a little on the firm side, but they have really good support, lots of adjustments. And when I start adjusting them, I get this little screen up here. And that is where I adjust things like my side mirrors, which again, software. I click that, now my steering wheel control the mirrors. Left one for the left, right one for the right. I mean, it works. Again, it just seems a little fussy. And then the same thing for the steering wheel as well. I can use this to dial the wheel up, down, left, and right. Now, there's no heads-up display here, which I'm actually fine with. I'm not a huge fan of heads-up displays. And if I wanted to, I could save all this, of course, by clicking Remember. Let's go ahead and do that. Click Remember, and now I am set up as user Rivian. That will keep those for every time this user gets into the vehicle. It'll then preset all of that stuff. Okay, last things, obviously there are seat warmers and coolers, both in the front, and then seat warmers on all the back seats. Yeah, overall, this is actually a really cool interior. We got this little pop-out thing here for coffee cups. Okay, we've now taken a look at most of the overall features of this vehicle. It's time to take it for a drive, and then we're gonna bring it back here for a little off-road test. Good Lord! Oh, it's got some punch. Wow, okay. The displays here are just gorgeous. I mean, this is really like what I would expect if Apple were to build a vehicle. It would probably be a lot like this Rivian. Although they wouldn't obviously angle it towards off-roady stuff. That's just not Apple. But in terms of design of the software and of the overall luxury of the inside, yeah, excellent job by the team at Rivian. Let's try a quick throttle here. I'm going to go ahead and put it into sport mode. It's then going to lower the suspension. Because it's wet out, a real 0 to 60 doesn't make a lot of sense, so I'm just going to punch the throttle and see what it does. 3, 2, 1, hit it. Oh! This thing's fast. And let's keep in mind, this is the dual motor. They also make a tri and a quad motor setup. My God! Oh, they should have sent a poet. Anyway, gauge cluster, let's talk about that. Big speedo on the right. We also have this kind of like real-time display of what the road's doing. And then I get a map on the left, although I can configure that in software as to be kind of what I want it to be. Okay, I'm gonna pop out of sport mode here, go back to all purpose, because I think that makes a lot of sense for where we're at. And you get 3 stages of regen on this, and the highest regen is pretty severe. So if I toggle up to max regen and I lift off the throttle pedal, it's basically like a brake. It's essentially a single pedal driving experience all the way to a stop. Hit go again, and we're going. So you're gonna rarely use the brake. And of course, that also gives you maximum regen, which helps with, giving you extra range as well. Personally, I prefer kind of a lower regen. And frankly, with a battery pack of over 400 miles, I think I'll be just fine as far as range is concerned. You can also toggle between stability control, ride feel, between soft, firm, or moderate. And then of course you also have your ride height. Right now I'm just set for standard. Out here on these country roads, I am noticing that the lane detect on this display is misregistering lanes quite a lot. It keeps telling me that I'm out of my lane when I am absolutely dead center in the lane. So that could be improved perhaps in time. Right now it's okay. It's not intrusive, and it's not like it's bumping the wheel for me or anything like that. It's just giving me little notifications. Yes, I'm in the middle of my lane. Quit notifying me. So if you hear those little dings in the background, I don't know if you can hear those or not, that's actually misidentifying where the lanes are. I'm in the middle of the lane. So here's the thing about how this vehicle drives. When I hit the throttle, you hear that sound? It sounds like it's the electric motors doing work. Let's contrast that versus the Chevy Silverado, which is so over the top with its EV sound effects that it kind of ruins the experience. This one, it feels a lot. Now, I don't know if that is the actual electric motors making those noises, but I absolutely could believe that it is. Whereas Chevy uses like the whole THX sound effect, where it's like it drowns out everything, which is too much. It's being too showy. This, it's purpose, and it's fast, and it's fun. This thing is fantastic on the street, but how is it on the trail? Well, we're going to take it to our Peninsula Proving Grounds, where we're going to see just how good it is. And I want to do a quick side note here. Rivian is very well aware of the type of reviews that we do. They did have a request though. They said, we can get you the R1S immediately if, with this vehicle, you're nice to it, because they don't want this one scratched up. They don't want the wheels scratched. They really don't want us taking this into our more challenging trails. So I said, okay, here's the deal. You guys get me one with all-terrain tires later, and with this one, I'll do an initial review and I'll only take it onto our easy course. And they said, that's good, let's do that. Before we hit the trail, let's first see how well this vehicle handles power distribution front to back with a quick acceleration on gravel. So I'm going to go ahead and line it up. The first mode we're going to do it in is all purpose, just a general drive mode. 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa! Okay, I can feel power going to the back, quite a lot actually. So definitely rear bias on that power distribution, which is interesting because both motors actually have the same amount of output. Now let's do the same thing, and I'm going to switch into, clear that screen, go to all-terrain, which is going to raise the suspension. It's confirming right there. Changes the display over here to have pitch and roll, which is cool. Still get temperature on my motors, which are currently at 95-ish degrees. Anyway, and we'll have a little bit more slip because it allows for additional wheel slip in this mode. 3, 2, 1, go! Whoa, okay. A little bit more slip in the back. Very nice. Love it. So the trail that we're going to do here today is our easy trail, and because I just want to see how this system, not only how much articulation does it have, but also I'm really curious how it distributes power left to right. It does have open differentials in the front and the back, so even though it can use electric motors to power both front wheels and both rear wheels, it's not going to stop that power from leaching out of a wheel that doesn't have any grip. So it should have wheel braking to shift that power left to right. This will be a good test for that. So we're at all-terrain mode. Now we're not at maximum ride height, we're just at high. My understanding is that if you're at maximum ride height, it'll actually limit articulation. So we don't want to do that. That's kind of if you get stuck and you really need to get over something. So I'm just going to drive. We're already in all-terrain mode, and let's do it. Now, a couple notes about this if you haven't watched the show before. When we go through this, it's a crawl, and the reason is because I want the vehicle to be stressed. I want to see how it responds. I don't want to see if we can get through this. I know we can get through the course. That's not really the question. But let's take a look at what it looks like on the outside, both as it shifts power around and as it articulates through the course. Man, it's so funny being in something with like 15 inches of ground clearance going through the easy course. Yeah, we're definitely doing the logs today, that's for sure. Oh, and of course I have cameras here. So let's go to cameras, and I can switch to a front view. Great front view. I would like tracking lines though. Don't get tracking lines, which is kind of funny. Seems like that's a missed opportunity. Let's see what that rear wheel is gonna do. Now, normally on a unibody crossover, it will be lifting that rear passenger wheel. I'm guessing with this one, that's not gonna be the case though. Add a little throttle, just smooth. It actually has a pretty good crawl ratio. I don't feel like I'm thrusting forward too quickly at all. Can now lift here. Any wheels lifting? I don't think so. So far, articulation's looking good. Now we're going to go on a counter tilt. Hopefully, we'll remove traction off a couple wheels, or is this articulation just so good that it won't? I think it's so good that it's not going to. Man, this thing is impressive. Can't wait to actually get one with all-terrain tires and really have some fun with it. Let's head over to the logs. Okay, the logs. So I am guessing this is going to be a total non-issue, mostly because of the 15 inches of ground clearance. At least 15 inches max. I mean, right now we're probably not at that, but we don't need it to be, so that's fine. Line up for the logs. Is there be any challenge at all? Probably not. They are slippery today, though. Right, so total non-issue. I wish I could say that about all the vehicles we tested here, but not the case. So yeah, good job, Rivian. So even the logs were incredibly easy with this vehicle. It's just so competent, even with standard all-season tires. I really want to see how power distribution works on this vehicle. So we're going to go ahead and dip in over here and see if we can lift a wheel and see that process in action. Of course, to get to the moguls, we have to go through a little muddy section, but I think we'll be okay. So we are still in all-terrain mode, which is the off-road mode. Let's see how this does. I can hear it. A little slide. Crawl ratio is fantastic in this thing. Just keeping an easy, slow throttle, and it's just working itself through. I'm hearing some wheel braking happening in the front. Just adding a little extra throttle, and out we go. Yeah, so I would say that this definitely doesn't have as good of articulation as a proper, solid axle vehicle. Even the Land Cruiser with a disconnectable front sway bar definitely has more articulation. But I think it's very good considering what this is. The wipers here are so fussy. Obviously, it started raining a little heavier, and I just have to toggle through so many options to get to where I want to be. I much prefer just to have a stock that I can just be like, wipe now. That's what I want. I just want to wipe now. But I don't seem to have that option. Oh, wait. Top button. The top button does it. That is not described very... That is not very obvious. Anyway, of course, we will test a Rivian more thoroughly when they send us one with proper all-terrain tires. This is just our first taste of what it can do, and so far I'm pretty impressed, actually. Go into the big hole here, look for that articulation, see that squish in the back wheel as we come up and over. And does it extend and reach down? Okay. Come on, can you get through? Yeah. Oop. So far, yeah. This is doing good. Now, this is normally where I would end this type of review video, but I'm thinking I want to learn more about this Rivian. So I think it's time to hop back onto the highway now and take this to go find some snow, because I want to see how that snow mode works. Let's do it. Charging the Rivian's large battery is a pretty positive experience. Though the Rivian uses a CCS plug to recharge, you can use an ACS with an adapter. That opens up the entire Tesla charging network to the Rivian, which is really cool. Of course, Rivian also has their own charging network. I do love how the charging status is right on the grille of the Rivian. You can just see with LEDs where you are at any given moment. Pulling up cold and just plugging in, I peaked at about 90 kilowatts. Though with a proper charger and environmental conditions, the Rivian can charge a lot faster than that. Now that I'm on a highway, I can try out the adaptive cruise control system. Rivian's advanced driver assistance system uses a combination of radars, sonars, and cameras to give you somewhat of a semi-autonomous experience. I say somewhat because it's not really all the way there yet. Their most advanced system, which they call Highway Driving Assist, is basically a lane detection and pacing system with a lane change assist function added into it. And it only works on geo-fenced highways, unfortunately. When you are outside of mapped highways, it functions like a standard adaptive cruise control setup, but with no lane tracing. Because this does lack a true hands-free system, and even what it does have in its most advanced settings are only available on very limited highways, you can definitely see that this is well behind Ford, GM, and Tesla when it comes to those autonomous modes. And I have been playing with the drive modes a lot more now that I've been on the highway here. And I love the fact that sport mode really does change the powertrain. Not only does it put it into always all-wheel drive, it also pushes more torque to the back wheels, which is what you want. You always want that rear-wheel drive power to kind of help you power through the corners. Or if I go to all-purpose, on the highway here, it goes to front motor only, which is good because that is the most efficient setup. And honestly, if you're just cruising on the highway, what does it matter, right? So right here, that vehicle's slowing down. I can go into sport, I punch it, and boom, power to the back. Love it. I have actually been sitting in this vehicle for about an hour and a half now, and it's quite comfortable, actually. The seats are supportive. They have nice heat going on. You go full bars on the heat, and you feel it. The zonal climate control seems to work pretty well. No complaints there. The stereo, it's okay. Don't love it. I don't know. I just feel like they could probably do a better job with the stereo and the way that the music kind of is distributed around the cabin. But, you know, overall, this has been a very nice driving experience. I actually really enjoyed this. Man, the power in this thing, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, the funny thing about like this Power Max system is that it really tells me that you don't need the power add-on. It's so fast. And then there's also the max battery. 420 miles, it's excessive. It really is. You're carrying around an extra couple hundred pounds that you just don't really need, I don't think, on a daily basis. Unless, of course, this is your only vehicle. And which, in that scenario, okay, I guess I can kind of see that. I'll pop back over here. I do like that the mapping system here not only shows you what your powertrain is doing, it's also showing you elevation. It just has a lot of really good, like, you know, adventure-oriented stats that I love. You see, it's telling me that I'm crossing the lane. There's no lane on this road. That's a paver separation. Calm down, Rivian. Well, it doesn't seem like we're really climbing that fast, but we've, you know, in a couple minutes, we gained like 500 feet of elevation. And I think we only need to get up to a couple thousand feet before we actually get some like legitimate snow on the ground. Okay, we're getting some snow, finally. Let's see what this thing can do. Temperature's 40 degrees, so it's very sloppy snow. That's a technical term. Okay, I'm just gonna pull into the snow here. We're gonna see how this does. So right now I'm just in standard drive mode. I'm not in any special mode, all purpose. And let's just see how this vehicle, what it does with its all-wheel drive system as I accelerate, and we'll see how it differs between all-purpose and snow modes. So all-purpose, let's go ahead and mash the throttle. It does a pretty good job, actually. Now this is a very wet, icy snow, so this isn't like your Midwest dry stuff. Close that screen, go to snow mode, and let's see how that differs. Ooh, it's allowing for wheel spin. Wow, it's doing a great job. Ha! So we tested this on street, in the dirt, on snow. In all areas, this vehicle is just very impressive. The fact that it's also electric just makes it even more interesting. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make them for you. I hope you enjoy them, and I hope you enjoyed this first drive in the new 2025 Rivian R1S.